Okay, I think it should be live. Hello humans. So today we're going to spend some time, hopefully not too much time. I need this to be relatively quick. It looks like my stream is going to be annoying again today with Comcast throttling me for some reason. I wonder why Comcast keeps doing that. It keeps dropping down to very few kilobytes per second, then goes back up. Anyway, what we're going to work on is getting useAuth to work with a lot of modern browsers that block third-party cookies, which makes it so that you can't actually use something like Auth0 to log in because the browser rejects that cookie by default, and that confuses your users, and then shit just doesn't work. Or to the user it seems broken. So what we're going to try to do, I know that Auth0 has some recommendations on how to fix that, so I'm going to try to bake those recommendations into useAuth directly so that anyone who uses this library, including my own projects, just magically works with browsers blocking third-party cookies. So that's what we're going to try to do today. I don't know how successful we're going to be, but we're going to give it our best shot. I'm going to start with looking for Auth0 third-party cookie because I know they have an article about this here. Auth0 multiple domains, cross-origin authentication. Let's see, that's from 2018. Auth0 third-party cookies blocking. Hey today, how are you doing today? Third-party cookies disabled. Chrome Auth0 community. Let's see, that sounds useful. Okay, React dashboard using the authentication API with a custom login page. That's from September 18. Sorry for such, we're doing, do you still require assistance from us? That's not useful. Auth0, what's coming for cookies? I know that cookies Auth0. Oh, okay, cookies are strings of data. Use cookies with authentication. Stateful cookies, stateless cookies. Why didn't I bookmark that article when I saw it? Third-party cookies blocked. I know there's a solution for this. I've seen it before. Single-page app authentication. Third-party applications, no. The ODC conformat authentication supports defining resource servers. That's not what I want. Okay. Let's see what the issues are saying on my useAuth repository. Reloading loses session in Chrome V80. V is failing consistently. Open a related ticket in the Auth0 community. Are using a social identity provider to use the keys generated. I know that this is a problem elsewhere. Question support for picky. How do you find an article that you had open many moons ago? Maybe if I go through my history, Auth0 cookies. Let's see, cookies, third-party cookies disabled. That's all from today. So that's not gonna work. Okay, what about Auth0 upcoming changes to cookies? Today my day is going pretty well so far. Okay, upcoming browser behavior changes. That was the article I was looking for. And hey Magdi, I'm doing pretty good today. How are you? Why does my internet keep doing that? It's so frustrating. Okay, so browser behavior is changing. What developers need to know. Are you operating a web application? What's changing? Browsers are changing their default for handling third-party cookies. Specifically, the change relates to the same site property on cookies. Previous browser behavior allowed cookies without the same site property to be sent in a third-party context by default, but the changes being implemented will make cookies default behavior more restricted. Integrations with identity providers, embedding web application, querying APIs from a third-party domain, not an exhaustive list. Web applications sign in using identity providers. When a web application implements sign-in using OIDC, it will engage in a series of redirects meant to send the user to authenticate with the provider. Okay, that is. So I can actually show you how this breaks. I'm going to go shields up for my serverless React side that uses, this one is using my useAuth to log in and authenticate. And if I click student login, it's gonna let me log in, right? It goes back here and it looks like I'm not logged in, which is really annoying. See, I know that I'm logged in because I just came back from a login flow, but it's not working because of why. Let's try that again and look at the Chrome console or Brave console. I enter my password and stuff, log in. Oops, something went wrong. Okay, let's try that again. So let's React Dev, go to student login, and I have all of the privacy stuff enabled from Brave. It came back and it says that login is required because something or another gets blocked. It's going to say here that some sort of tracker was blocked and cross-site cookies are blocked. And now if I say all cookies are allowed, then I become logged in. So that's the problem we're gonna try to solve today, is what happens to the login flow if third-party cookies are disabled, which is quite frustrating. So let me try going back. Come on, shields down. So my mouse is, you might see me struggle with my mouse today because it is, the click button is dying. So web application using, can this shit go away? Why are you bugging me? Before web application, so this is the before, we go user agent, user authenticates, then we get redirected back. After, I don't see, during step D in the image above, the web application performs ID token validation for which it needs information stored in the session. Without any updates to today's implementation, the cookie carrying the session requesting info would no longer be attached to the post, resulting in a failure of the response validation checks. Okay. Cool. So how do we fix this? Why is Google pushing for these changes? Because of privacy issues. When are these changes happening? They happened already. This is now in the past, so it means I really have to deal with it. What to do? Reach out to your technical partners, providers, and service operators and ask them if they're ready for this change. If you're a customer of Auth0, then be sure we're already executing steps necessary to facilitate this change. Some changes will happen automatically on Auth0 side without requiring any actions depending on the particular SDK. Check an update on your, what exactly is, okay, so how do I implement the change? Auth0 dashboard notifications for any actions required. This mechanism has been evolving with the latest blah. Ever since this attribute was introduced, it was not breaking existing web services, it was still attaching cookies to all requests that are in scope. Other cookie attributes, blah, okay, HTTP only, secure, and so on. How regular server-side cookie header authentication works. A request is being made to the same server in the same site equals strict. The intent behind the same site strict value is CSRF mitigation. Okay, so how do I fix this is my question. Once the browser implements and enables the feature, the browser will interpret lack of an explicitly set same site attribute as if the cookie carried a same site attribute's value lax instead of today's behavior value of none. Only cookies marked with the secure attribute are allowed. If you are setting the same site attribute's value, none. Okay, none of that is very interesting. When retrieving a cookie value using the Koa framework, you would do the following. Express, okay, what's next? Changes in progress on the service side to get rid of those pesky JavaScript console warnings. We're also going through our SDK libraries, reviewing the use of cookies and making sure we update those that need to be updated well before this change goes into effect for regular users. Cool. So how do I... It sounds like Auth0 is promising that they will handle this automatically, but I can tell that it's not actually working. So what can I do about that? Let's see. Oh, I logged into the wrong thing. Let's go to the dashboard. Do I have any notifications about this stuff? Let's see. Switch tenant. Let's go to serverless React course. Try your login box. Yeah, whatever. Integrate, add social login, secure teammates or tenants. I'm done with this setup. Hide it. You can still access the getting started. Sure. So we have some people and some of them have logged in. How do I... Okay, so that's not... Okay, notifications, token rotation, general availability, native login with Facebook. Okay, so I am using Auth0.js 9.11.2. Is there a new version of that? Auth0-js. Auth0.js. Do they have a new... This is the SDK they have, I think. The latest version is 9.13. So maybe we can upgrade that. That seems like a good start. Let's verify on npm.js that that is actually the same library. Auth0-js. Git checkout -b. We are checking out, let's say, cookie fix. Third-party cookies. Okay, so Auth0.js, is that the same one? Yes, does look like the same one. Version 9.13.2, so let's try updating that. Yarn add Auth0. What if I just say, I'm gonna do it this way. I'm just gonna update the version number here, 9.13.2, and we say yarn install. That's going to install the latest version of the library. Oh wow, choose a version of types React from this list. I guess the latest. Cool, now let's see if it actually updated. Node modules, Auth0.js, package.json, grep version. We are on 9.13.2, perfect. Now, do they say anything about cookies? Third, no. Cookies, no. Same site. Documentation, Auth0 authentication. Provides an API client for the Auth0 authentication API. What do we... That seems like it's a little bit different than what I have. Let's go into auth provider. So the auth provider gets what? Auth0. What do we instantiate? So we instantiate the web auth client. What is the web auth? Auth0 web auth. Supports for all authentication flows. Cool. Domain, client ID, redirect URL, scope, audience, response type, response mode. Use defaults to fragment, disable deprecation, leeway. During ID token validation, no. API, we are using... What is this complaining about? You mean callback domain? Wow, I totally broke that. So where are we using callback domain? Now I need to make sure git grep callback domain. There's a bug in my latest version. Nice. That's from yesterday. Git grep callback domain. So our default state uses callback domain. We can actually change that, can't we? Should we change that? No. What I am going to do instead is this. callback domain like that. So that fixes a small bug. I'm going to just check out to, let's check out the master and fix that. Git add, git commit -m fix bug with setting callback domain state. Yarn build. Oh, I actually forgot to build on my last version push, so that was great. So we're going to deploy a new version right now while that kind of just gets a little bug out of the way. Status git commit -m build next patch version, npm version patch, git tag to rename the tag, fix bug in setting callback domain state. That's 6161. Git push origin master -- tag, and we go npm publish. npm publish, and I need my phone for this. Just a sec. So has anyone dealt with this third-party stuff on Auth0 before? Because I was kind of hoping there would be more information about this on the internets, and there doesn't seem to be that much information. Okay, so we fixed that. Now, what do I do? We're using check session and all of those things. So all of that is working. Do they have issues here about third-party cookies? It's not send rules, storage parse hash, browser keeps loading, super agent does not clear the temporary cookie on origin mismatch. Let's see. Is issue same site. Same site cookie attribute changes. Let's see. With the upcoming, are there any changes that we need to make if we're using Auth0.js? I don't believe so. The cookies that Auth0.js sets and uses will still be read okay despite the changes to same site, and the cookies set by auth0.com already have the same site changes applied to them. Even though I'm getting the warning from Chrome after using check session method. Okay, testing check session method to update the access token and getting the warning on Chrome version 80. Is the Auth0 domain, as long as things are working now with Chrome 80 and the same site flags turned on, which they should be by default, then you're good to go. Still getting a warning. For older browsers do not support the same site attribute. I have a repo bit and it's just that one environment. Okay, so I'm gonna try upgrading. Let's go to examples, and we are going to take the useAuth Gatsby example. And in the Gatsby example, let's see how that is set up. My mouse. So first I need to verify that I can actually still reproduce this with the latest version of the library, because maybe it magically got fixed. That would be cool. useAuth, node modules examples, useAuth Gatsby, because that's the one that I'm most familiar with. Other people, relative depths. Oh yeah, we have relative dependencies, cool. So what I need to do is run yarn just to make sure everything is up to date and installed, I think. Then we run what? Relative depths. Do I have a start? Scripts, build, develop, format, start. Okay. Post install, pre-start, relative depths. Cool. So I'm gonna try to run the Gatsby example for this code. Why is my timer not running? What happened? So I like to use timers to know how much time I'm spending on different things, and it seems like it's malfunctioning today. Come on, connect. And this is actually a really handy timer that I have, because it's this kind of whatever shape this is that you just place on the edge or on the face that you're currently doing, which is really useful. Okay, so I can now run yarn start, and we can see if in the latest Chrome login works. If the login doesn't work, then we know that the third-party cookie is still a problem. So let's give it a shot. Open Chrome. That built. Come on, Chrome, where are you? Okay, verify what version of Chrome I'm on. About Google Chrome, version 80 plus, that's great. That should be working, doing what we need it to. So now if I go to localhost 8000, we should fail to log in by default. Or at least I think we'll see. Click login. Goes through the useAuth example flow, SSO data. There was an error fetching associated with the cross-site resource. Okay, for gravatars, don't care. Login, come back, and login actually worked totally fine. Interesting. So that did actually work. Cool. Can I see cookies for third-party stuff? Optimize the buckets, no. Okay, so default behavior does seem to work. The problem, therefore, are these more annoying browsers like Brave. Let's see what happens here. So here I'm going to enable my shields, and let's go with cross-site cookies blocked. So cross-site cookies are blocked. We log in, go through the flow, and come back, and are not logged in. The problem there. Hey Jerry, how are you doing? No, not Siri.
Hello.
Okay, so this could be a problem if third-party cookies are hard blocked by the browser, and it's not just the same site thing that most modern browsers do now by default. I don't know how to fix that, because I would need to essentially fork the Auth0.js library. I think. What can I do there? I wonder if I can tell the Auth0.js library which cookie to use, and then manually set that cookie when we are coming back from a request. Let's see, how does this work? Upcoming browser updates. So the HTTP response that sets cookies via the set cookie header would create a pair of cookies for each that is supposed to have same site properties. One we're taking internally does not depend on brittle UA sniffing, but rather setting two cookies. Okay. So how does... Okay, so clicks a link, blah, blah, blah. How does... Okay, I know how cookies work. What... So here, we come back to our web application. So the user agent authorization server. During step D in the image above, the web application performs ID token validation, for which it needs information stored in the session. Without any updates to today's implementations, the cookie carrying the session or authentication requires binding info nonce in the diagram would no longer be attached to the post. Jerry, yes, I do also stream on Twitch as well. So if you go to Twitch TV/Swizzits, you'll find me there. And I know that the quality there is much better. So what do I do to work around this problem? What is the PKCE flow that I got an issue about a long time ago? Support for PKCE. What is that? Does this support? It has PKCE built in. Might be able to migrate over to it and get this feature for free. Could I take a crack? I mean, you can always take a crack. Why do people ask the questions like that? Just do it. Okay, that's still stuff. The Auth0 single page app SDK is a new JavaScript library for implementing authentication and authorization. That's some new stuff they put out. What? Let's see. Could we use this flow? I'm not sure if this is still improving the third-party cookie thing, but it does seem like a cool idea. So why? Overview. Okay, first let's see what is the benefit of I don't know how to pronounce that. PKCE. Execute and authorize. What is Proxy? I need to which OAuth2 flow should I use? There we go. OAuth2 supports several different blah. Proxy, no. Come on, is Proxy on the page? Is the client a single page app? If the client is a single page app, an application running in a browser using a scripting language like JavaScript, there are two options. Proof key code exchange and the implicit grant. For most cases, we recommend using the authorization code grant with Proxy. This grant adds the concept of a code verifier to the blah. Auth0 single page app SDK provides high-level API for implementing authorization code grant with Proxy in single page apps. For more information, okay. So let's look then at how we can migrate from Auth0.js. Not all Auth0.js functionality can be directly migrated to Auth0 SPA.js. Scenarios that cannot be migrated include embedded login with username password, so that's not something useAuth supports anyway. User sign up. What? Why not user sign up? Okay, I'm not sure. Request an email to change the user passwords, get a user profile from user info endpoint. So that seems like a lot of things can't be migrated. Also some options that are configurable in Auth0.js that do not have a counterpart. Authentication parameters are not modified anymore. Converts custom parameters. When using Auth0 SPA.js, custom parameters are not converted. Okay. So we create an Auth0 client. Cool. Okay, we're gonna try that because that seems like a cool thing to try, and that's an improvement, right? So I'm not sure what's going on with third-party cookies. I know that it looks like Auth0 has gotten their act together and it now works in Chrome. Problem is if you're actively blocking third-party cookies, and I don't think it's within my power to actually fix that. I thought it was a different problem. So instead, we're going to try to implement this new Proxy Flow. Git checkout -b, Proxy Flow. Okay. So for the Proxy Flow, we're going to start in package.json. We're going to add let's do yarn remove auth0 minus JS. Sure, use that one. Okay, removing auth, and we also yarn remove at types for auth0 minus JS. And this might be a breaking change, so we're gonna have to really make sure that stuff works. And then we're going to yarn add auth0 minus spa minus JS, and let's get types for that as well. Spa JS. Is it gonna ask me for the React types every time? Okay, so there's no types for that. Cool. Let's try just yarn add, yes. Auth0 spa JS. Cool, that works. Now we're gonna have to create a client. So that happens in our provider. We're going to so let's do, come on, import create auth0 client from at auth0 spa JS. We import that thing, and then we create the client down here. I believe the same, pretty much the same way. We need to figure out what the params are for this stuff. So we're going to call create auth0 client params auth0 params, and let's see if this has any type definitions. Options auth0 client options, perfect. So we can, I think we can import this. Import auth0 client options from at auth0 slash auth0 spa JS. Does that work? Then we can use them down here. Auth0 client options, params, property client ID is missing in type. Okay, so it's now called client underscore ID. And is redirect URI still redirect URI? That looks like it is. Okay, cool. Ah, no, it's not. It's redirect underscore URI. Redirect underscore URI. Cool, so we've upgraded that part. And then everything else looks like it's going to be a little bit different as well. So I'm going to go into my tests next. Yeah, let's try running tests. Will tests work? No, tests will pass because my tests are tied to things. So instead of authorize, where are we calling authorize? Let's look at useAuth and useAuth spec tsx. Where are we calling authorize? Instead of authorize, we're going to call login with redirect. And we'll also have to fix it here. So we are now importing this. Use auth specs. So I'm gonna do it the proper way, and I'm going to first fix the fix my tests, and then try just running the tests to get to see where they break. And that's going to be a really good test of my tests as well. So login with redirect. We await this, so we should probably await it here as well. Where are you? Where am I creating you? Auth0 client options. So const auth0, we await create auth0 client. But the auth provider is not. So that's going to be a problem that we have to solve. So when we create, yeah, that's gonna be annoying. Okay, We're gonna deal with that in a little bit. The problem here is that this is now create auth0 client is now async. So that we're gonna have to fix that. Use auth spec tsx, we await it here. Auth0 login with redirect, logout still exists. And it's not gonna call authorize, it's gonna have to call login with redirect. Where else do we have authorize? No more authorize. And we should also look at the reducer, auth reducer ts, which doesn't seem to be doing anything too specific. Cool. So now I'm going to run tests and we'll see what happens. It's probably going to, yeah, SmakeD, that's a great recommendation. I'm probably going to use an async use effect to initiate the client. Await expression is only allowed within an async function. Of course it is. That was pretty dumb of me. So where am I using auth0? auth0, auth0, auth0. I'm using auth0 literally everywhere. How can I fix this? Let's do this. We're going to have function auth0 that is an async function and just return stuff. Async mock for auth0, okay, return auth0, and then wherever we use auth0, like here, we're going to have to await it, but context itself, this is making it very hard to write the tests, but that's a good thing. That means we are discovering complexity. So context, is context also, do we actually use different contexts? No, we do not. Cool. So, wait, do we? Nope. Okay, so I can also make here a context function, function context, async function context, that returns stuff, return context, and here where we have auth0, we can actually await auth0 as a function call, helper to mock up a React context. Cool. And now here we can turn this into an async function. It's a helper anyway. Right? No, actually no, that one should not be async. So here, when we are rendering context, we await context, make this an async function. No, describes cannot be async, but tests can. So async function, auth0, await auth0, and then we say login with redirect to be called, or rather, we need to say context.auth0 login with redirect needs to be called, and here we say context, and let's do it like this, equals await context, bam, bam, and that should work. Okay, now let's apply this fix everywhere. This is basically ensuring that we're using the same auth0 as we are in the actual test. Context.auth0. This needs to be an async function, and then context.callback domain does not exist on type auth context state. Is it now called? Oh yeah, because it's now called. No. What did I do? What does context return? Auth context state and promise. Ah, right, because it needs an underscore. And we do the same thing here. Underscore async. So this part is a little boring, but it is important because it's going to make the next part much easier, I think. Like it's going to make it easier to make sure that what I'm changing and what the changes we're making actually work. Context, what did I do? Okay, I think I want, well, okay, that's what I did. Thanks, Magdi. Context state expires at context blah, context await context. This is async. That's for is authenticated. Oh my god, why did I write tests for everything? Underscore context, and we do it here as well. Underscore needs to be async. What else? Handle auth result. So now auth result also needs to, how do we make it work here? The mock auth client user info, yeah, that's because right. So what we can do is say, how do we make sure that we're using the same one? Actually, I'm gonna do it the same way. Auth0 equals auth0 call. And we say underscore auth0. But now the client no longer exists on, or no wait, it was just, this was the problem, right? But so because this is an describes can't be async, which is kind of annoying. Oh, you're right. Yeah, user info stuff might not actually be supported anymore. So we'll see about that later. Let's, and I'm not actually sure I'm gonna have to call handle auth result. So let's call yarn test and just see what happens for now. The auth reducer passes and useAuth fails. Let's remove this part for now. Let's run just the first tests. Okay. Async function auth0 client. Where is this happening? Okay, so now TypeScript is getting in the way because this code doesn't work yet. So I'm going to make it comment it out, and while it's commented out, it should allow me to at least run stuff. And auth0 minus JS, where am I doing that? TypeScript customize using if it exists. What? Fail use auth spec. Am I importing stuff here? Yes, I am. All right. So we're no longer using auth0 JS. Let's do auth0 minus spa at auth0 slash auth0 spa JS, but it does not actually get us any of these types. Fun. Okay, we're going to change those to any, just for the time being, and then we can change them to their proper versions once we have them. Any, come on, any. Okay, run tests and let's see. The tests should now fail, but they should fail in the correct way. Cool. So there's no check. Next.js auth0. That sounds cool. What was that like, Smegdi? Property check session does not exist on promise auth0 client. Auth provider TSX. Okay, cool. So we get a bunch of TypeScript errors. Let's finish the conversion first and go from there. So instead of calling authorize, we're going to be calling we need to figure out how we're going to actually instantiate the client, don't we? Because it's now async. So we're going to, let's see, holds authentication state. So state dispatch is the use reducer. Then we have context value and set context value. Set context value with the state, which is a great place to instantiate the Auth0 client, I think. Let's see. So we have use state that has the full context state, where Auth0 is the... Cool. I'm glad you got it working, Smegdi. Are you enjoying the experience? Like what was it like to use? Other than not having a lot of information out there. Wow. Okay, so auth context state gets Auth0 as a value by default. So what we could do here, oh no, we can't await. Does useState allow us to return a function? useState async default. How use async return value from useEffect as default value? Let's see if we can even do this. Now that useFetch returns a value that is available asynchronously, what you need is to update local state when the remote value is available. What? What is useFetch? That seems new. Has anyone heard useFetch before? Oh, usehttp.com, React hook. Great. So it's not a default hook that exists. So useEffect set context value. We are changing that every time the state changes. And then we have Auth0 here. Let's start with Auth0 being null. Yes, Auth0 starts as null. And then we create the client down here. Instantiate Auth0 client in a useEffect. And we only do this on first load, right? Return, verify user is logged in, avoid storing sensitive data, instantiate Auth0 client on component mount. So we create the new client, await create auth client. This needs to be an async function that we call, but useEffect can't get async functions directly. So we say create client is an async function that we call right away. So we call create client in the effect, right? That's gonna run and it's not going to clean up after itself, which is great. So after create client runs, we save it. So we say set context value and we set it as the current context value, and we add Auth0 to the thing. So that's going to update the context value. Yes, it's going to update it. And then here we can say that we are running this when context value Auth0 changes, and we do it here as context value dot Auth0 check session, right? Yeah, Next.js does sound fun with your code getting executed all over the place. So we get the context value dot auth0 checks session, that checks the session when we, I think it checks the session when we do, let's see if auth0 has a, oh cool, we can call it an auth0 client instead of an any. Where do I do that? So auth context state here, instead of auth0 being a web auth or null, it's actually auth0 client that comes from import auth0 client from at what's it called, at auth0 / auth0 spa.js. Cool. Okay, so that's our auth context state. Well, but it needs to be or null, auth0 client or null, because we are supporting both of those. Will it be smart enough to know auth0 client options? Should we? Okay, we should use. Let's leave the params where they are. So we create the auth0 client, set context value that updates it. Then we come here and it complains object is possibly null, but we know at this point that it's not null, so I'm going to add a exclamation point. And check session does not actually exist. Cool. Ha! Nate, I'm glad you like the music. And handle auth result is also gonna act funny. So we can say here context. Let's just do it this way. Let's say const auth0 equals context value dot auth0, so that we save typing. We pass those both in. Check session doesn't exist, so we're gonna have to see what we do instead of that. The part we were at was the authorize call, which happens where in useAuth, where do we call authorize? Instead of login, we're going to call login with redirect. Okay, so it's going to log in with redirect, which is fine. That means we can also use login with popup. Very nice. Parse the hash after the redirect. So we used to have auth0.parse hash. We now call auth0 handle redirect callback. So instead of parse hash, we call handle redirect login with redirect. So we now call auth0. What? Why is it doing that? Come on. Handle redirect callback. And does that not need anything from us? So auth0 handle redirect callback. Let's see what that actually does. Handle, after the browser redirects back to the callback page, call handle redirect callback to handle success and error responses from auth0. It returns a promise called redirect login result. If the response is successful, results will be valid according to their expiration times. Cool. So we what do you mean you got the same reaction? So if auth0 exists, then we call auth0 handle redirect, and we await that and say const result equals await handle redirect, and handle authentication needs to be async. And then we say, what is the redirect login result? Redirect. This isn't useful. What does redirect handle result give me? Redirect login result. Okay, but its value is never read. I know. How do I check that? If result dot app state, what? Okay, handle redirect callback. Browser redirects back to the callback page. Call handle to handle X success and error responses. If the response is successful, results will be valid. So we used to call handle auth result, which was maybe we can still call handle auth result. So let's say await handle auth result with auth result, and let's pass in auth result and dispatch and auth 0. Then after that we navigate back to post login route. Now what does handle auth result actually do? Right? Yeah. Returns true if there's valid information stored, otherwise returns false. Oh, interesting. So they added the same isAuthenticated function that I have. So handle auth result. Why is auth result? It's not an auth coded hash anymore. So now we need to, where are we? Auth result. I don't know what the, yeah, so maybe just calling it to redirect the user according to the result, but I need to actually make sure I know what the result looks like. So I'm going to console log the auth result here, and it's not actually going to let me start because of TypeScript errors, will it? Let's try. Let's go into the example app, cd examples, useAuth Gatsby, yarn start. This should install the, yeah, it complains because auth check session does not exist on auth0 client. So in auth provider, we are not gonna check the session for now. Okay, yarn start. Yeah, I don't know what auth result is actually, so I'm going to try. Building, okay, so it's building stuff. Come on, work. And then we're gonna have the console log that will tell us, hey, this shit is, you know, working or not working. Okay. Ta-da, in progress. There was an error compiling and it died. Blob is not defined. What? What the heck was this? Okay, so it's not gonna work until we fix type errors, I think. At least I think that's the problem. Let's try yarn test. Go back here, yarn test.
Right.
Yeah. Window crypto is required to run auth0 spa.js. Okay, so I can't even run tests because I don't have window crypto. What can I do? In handle auth result, we console log the auth result. That stuff should all be fine. I hope. Which means, so we're not importing any of this stuff. Where else do we have type errors? We shouldn't be importing any of this stuff. Right? Yes. So let's see, auth0 client, is there an auth0 error? I want to see more of their types. Auth0 client options, polyfills, global client, global, error, auth0 error, no. Error, come on, there's gotta be, there's an authentication result. That's cool. Okay, I'm gonna change things to any, and then we're gonna go from there. So we're deleting this. We get errors here. useAuth is not importing shit, it doesn't exist anymore. There don't seem to be any type errors now. If I go into types and I delete this stuff, let's see what it says. Cool. Auth0 user profile. So what do... Let's change that to any and any, or I don't like all of these any's. Any, and then we're gonna figure out what they need to be afterwards. Come on, any. I know this is not gonna be web auth, this is auth0 client. Any. Web auth is auth0 client. Any promise auth0 user profile. Any. Auth options. I think it's auth0 options. No. Come on. I know we solved this one before. That was in types TS. No, index DTS. In auth provider. What was our param? It was auth0 client options. So we go back to types and we say this is auth0 client options, which we import from here. Cool. So now I should be able to, no, I won't be able to yarn start because we still have this problem. Set session, where are we calling set session? In handle auth result, we call set session, which does stuff. So for now, we're going to not call it, and we're going to just resolve it immediately. So yarn start, and let's see if I can now. Oh wow, it's already been 1 hour. Cool. Okay, building React useAuth. Is it working? So microbundle is running, that's a good sign. It managed to build my library, I think. Now let's see if Gatsby starts up, and then we can actually look at what the auth result looks like. Yay, no, we cannot. What does it mean? Why blob is not defined? Let's see. Can I build it here? Yarn build for useAuth at least. Because if that doesn't work, well, no, I mean, if I can't start the example app, that's gonna be a problem. Let's see, Gatsby, Webpack, blob. God damn it. Reference error, blob is not defined. So I think that this isn't going to work at all because the auth0 spa.js uses window libraries that don't work in Gatsby. So it can't actually work with server-side stuff. Yeah. Let's see. Let's go into How can we check this? If we auth0 spa.js, auth0 spa.js. Let's look at auth0 spa.js, auth0 spa.js, and we look for blob, errors ts, blob. No, can I make this a 20 code results? Blob, there, blob. How do I blob like that? No. What if we look for window? Yeah. Auth0 client is not actually going to work at all, because auth0 client ts assumes that window exists. So it's not gonna work. Yeah, I know, type of window is undefined. I guess what we can do is not instantiate it if the window doesn't exist. Let's try. So type of window, where are we defining it? If type of window is not undefined, then we create the client. So let's try yarn start again. Well, what does a custom server help me to handle this manually, Smagdy? Res? Yeah. I'm not sure what you mean. But let's see if this does anything useful. So maybe not even instantiating the client will help. Seems to help for now. Nope. Yeah, it doesn't work. Doesn't work at all. Okay, so that was a failed experiment. Looks like we can't use the SPA.js in useAuth at all, because it's not basically because they assume everywhere, all over the place, that window exists, which it doesn't. Yeah. Yeah, but I think that's a Next.js sort of thing. I don't think that's general for all frameworks that do that compile React. So we're going to I'm gonna stop now, because this is not gonna work. Git commit -m. Let's say that this is just failing. auth0 spa.js can't work in SSR. So I'm going to give up on this and go do other stuff that I have to get done today. rn yarn -error git push origin Proxy Flow, because it's nice to save code that you've been working on. Let's just verify that if we go back to master, that stuff works. Yarn test, let's see that if that test still passed, that we didn't accidentally break something while we were moving things around. Import auth0 from auth0.js, yarn, let's install stuff. Yes, so Gatsby is a node server generating static stuff. But the thing is that Gatsby specifically says that you should wrap any use of window or browser technologies in to make sure that they work both when you're compiling and when you're doing it at runtime. It looks like the Auth0 SPA client, the new one that they have, does not follow those best practices, so we can't actually make it work. Which means the best approach is to not try to make it work, and we verified that it works with Chrome V80, so that's good. I don't have a way to force it to work with Brave when Brave is actively blocking third-party cookies, so this was an interesting experiment, but ultimately, well, we learned some new stuff, but we didn't really build anything. I think it was still useful. So I'm just gonna verify that the example code still works, and then I'm gonna wrap up for today. Maybe this could be, I wonder if there's an article in there somewhere, but I don't think that there is really. So if shields go down, then login works. I can log in. Bam, go back. That did all the things, and if I reload, I am still logged in. Yeah, cool. So thanks everyone for watching. I will see you again next time. This was definitely, well, at least we tried, right? So we tried, we didn't get very far, but an attempt was made, so that's better than nothing. Thanks again, and I'll see you next time.